welcome back to the Disc-ussions, where we talk about movies, music, and everything in between. My name is Adrian, aka Move Mantis, and I'm here with my two lovely co-hosts.
Hey, I'm Daniel, aka Rated DG13.
And I'm Hunter.
And yeah, we're back for another episode. We apologize in advance if you do hear a AC unit or a fan in the background. It is unbelievably hot here today. We're melting on the inside, and we're just trying to keep our outsides cool, honestly. It is fucking... Jesus Christ, it's fucking hot as hell.
Yeah.
And, well, let's just get into...
No, nothing.
Yeah, what he said! And then, alright, let's get into it. This is usually the part of the show where we just kind of free ball it, just kind of talk about whatever. What's everyone kind of been watching? What's everyone been into lately?
Yeah, nothing much. Just catching up on Planet of the Apes, mainly, before the next one comes out. I'm cautiously, I wouldn't even say optimistic, but interested, just because I like that world a lot, especially with the direction they're taking it, like with it being generations later.
I was about to say, like, you know, like the new ones, it's like supposed to be this whole new trilogy, like, like it's a whole new main character. He's never even met the original monkey guy, or whatever the hell. I don't remember his fucking name. The James Franco monkey.
Yeah.
Caesar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, those, it's not like a perfect finale that's like meant to, like, oh, if they do anything past this point, it'll be like a travesty. It's like it's meant to, you're meant to, like, see how this world evolves, because you want to see how it gets from that point in the like, you know, from Rise to, like, Planet of the Apes, even in the 60s, where they're, like, fully civilized and, like, wearing clothes and stuff. So it's like, I don't know, I can imagine that era being done with, like, modern technology and it being pretty cool.
And what do you think of, like, those original three movies? I was talking about this before we recorded them. Like, I think it's just alright. I think the first one's pretty good, and then the last two are just, they're okay. Just not super impressive. I remember liking the first one just because I thought it was just more of an interesting concept. Like, I guess just monkeys rising up. I thought that was, I guess, interesting. And kind of James Franco's relationship with the kind of main monkey character, and just his whole, like, evolution from kind of wanting to, and even they shows it in the second and third, because they never really outright just hunt like humans. Not really. There's a lot of monkeys, at least especially in the later movies, where they just want to kill them, but for the most part they don't, like, hunt them down. It's like some disease or something that like cuts the population in half or something like that.
Yeah. I remember because that was one of, like, those, like, magical movie experiences for me growing up, because, like, I went into it knowing absolutely nothing. I knew nothing about the original. I hadn't seen the trailer, and my dad just, like, showed it to me, and seeing how that story progressed was really, like, eye-opening for me, and in terms of how I view movies, and how, like, that first one ends, how it's like it's genuinely like haunting. And then, like, I remember my childhood trauma video I made on my channel. I talked about how that ending with the virus, like, spreading everywhere, and you, like, you get that visual of, like, how far all those, like, trains are traveling, or those planes are traveling all over the earth, and how quickly it's, like, getting in contact with everyone. And then, like, I made that in 2019, and, like,
it was, like,
less than 4 months later it's, like, COVID, and I was like, fuck. It's not this, like, it's not like, it wasn't nearly as devastating, but it was, like, still just, like, you know,
I mean, shit, have you ever played this big when I was in high school, that one, and junior high, it was that
Plague?
the Plague game.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing. And I remember, like, I'm like 99% sure when that movie came out, they came out with like a monkey virus for that game that was from the movie. And you could, like, simulate it and show it. But yeah, like, it shows, like, just how viruses spread and how quickly that shit can just kind of get everywhere. And yeah, that shit's scary. Honestly, what I genuinely, because you said that, and it reminded me, a genuinely scary part of that movie, or at least the first movie for me, was that part where that guy, it's like one of the scientist guys, he's like the main scientist guy, like he's like getting out of his car and he like looks up and he's like in this parking garage, just all these fucking monkeys like all in all the levels, and they all just like jump down and like land on. I remember that like scaring the shit out of me because I just thought of like 100 monkeys just like jumping down on top of me in my car, like that shit would be fucking like terrifying. Just like. And they all just rise up, and they're all like, I remember that's like, I think a little bit toward the end of the movie, like when they all like run on the bridge and they take that fucking like helicopter down. Like, yeah, I remember that movie being a little like a little traumatizing, made me a little scared that monkeys might rise up.
Yeah, as far as like Hollywood action movies, I think they're like higher up on the totem pole of like, okay, you guys got like some pretty like substantive stuff to say and like some like again like they don't MCU process their movies. They're like, they put all the effort into like making them look as great as possible. Yeah. And the stories like themselves aren't like super special. They're like pretty predictable. Especially those like second two. I just kind of enjoy those more for like the action. But like they have some like really well defined characters, especially like from the apes. As the series goes on, it's like I'm only caring about the apes, and like they do a good job at like turning them from like one note, like just like they're learning into like their own kind of people with their own identities. I find that like really fascinating, and I just really enjoy how those accomplished what they did. And I recently rewatched the 60s one again, and I like how that one does leave a world worth expanding upon. I haven't seen the sequels to those original ones. I don't know how long those...
Yeah, there are sequels to that one,
there's like
right?
5 like from the 70s.
Jesus.
Yeah. And
I just remember, the first one, and I haven't seen it, but everyone knows the iconic ending. Or, you blow it up! God damn you!
I didn't realize that was the second Madagascar reference.
No, that's what's funny. No, like I'm like deadass sure. Like that's like the first time I ever saw that movie reference was fucking Madagascar. They do that reference.
A lot of old cinema and like TV shows referenced to Madagascar.
It's good that they do that too, because just like what kid would get what you're referencing? But yeah, hopefully that new apes movie. What's it called?
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
That's like kind of my only problem with those movies. It's just like the long.
It should have just been Kingdom of the Apes.
Yeah, why didn't they just say that?
Rise of the Apes, Dawn of the Apes, War for the Apes.
Yeah, you don't have to put like Planet of the Apes. Just, I guess because
how would you know that it's connected
people don't know.
To the
people wouldn't know,
man.
You gotta put Planet of the Apes, or they won't know. Whatever.
No, I kind of agree with Daniel though. Like, I actually like went into those movies like the same way. Like, funny is you said you watched the first one on cable. I'm pretty sure I also did. Like, my dad showed me it. I was like, oh, this movie's cool. It's a good idea. Like, because like it's like a simple idea. Like, James Franco just wants to cure I think dementia. Or Alzheimer's, Alzheimer's, that's what it is. Yeah, and like he just like accidentally fucked up and made monkeys smart.
Smart monkeys. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I definitely think they're like stronger like Hollywood movies than I guess most.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it's definitely more entertaining than most. I remember liking a lot about those 3 movies. I've seen all 3. It's been a long while since I've seen them, but yeah. But moving forward,
hopefully this is good.
Maybe that should be our next one that we see.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we can talk about it next time we record. But I just finished telling you guys about it. I haven't really been going out or doing much last like 2.5 weeks because I've been doing nothing but watching Game of Thrones. I just had a lot of friends tell me to watch it for years, and then recently one of my other friends had gotten into it and told me to watch it because they're making the 2nd season of House of the Dragons. I think that's coming out pretty soon. And so he told me to get on it now, and I was like, yeah, I guess so now. It's been like 7-8 years of people bothering me to watch it, so I'll watch it. And I wasn't, because I'm not a big fantasy guy at all. And like the only thing fantasy wise that I'm really into is probably like Elder Scrolls and Skyrim. And the main reason I don't like fantasy is most of the time is the writing, because I feel like it can bombard you with information like all at once. and then it kind of just bogs everything down and makes everything confusing. Like, okay, this guy's to this house, who the brother of this guy, who knows this guy, who doesn't like this guy, but like this guy, who cooks for this guy, who shines the shoes for this guy, who's a part of this house, and it's kind of like they just bombard you with like 50 characters and like 50 fucking houses, and everyone knows each other and hates each other, and it can all just get bogged down and confusing and then make me not, care or get attached to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But watching Game of Thrones, it's literally perfectly written for people like me who have that problem, because it really does slowly, very, very slowly, but it's still like satisfying. That's the other thing. That show, I could not imagine watching that show like week to week. I really can't. Like, I'm so glad I watched it after it was already over, because goddamn, I could not watch that shit week to week. Holy fuck. Because you just get like these crumble bits of like because they have like, they focus on like 10 characters all at the same time, and but it's split up pretty satisfyingly. But like, you only get like maybe like 5 or 10 minutes of each character like every episode maybe, and so you're really getting drip fed like all this shit. But I think that works well for something like this, because it's this big expansive world that has its own like countries and people, and even in that first season they really only introduced like the Starks and like the Lannisters, and that's really it. But it's like over the next couple of seasons where they slowly introduce everybody else and kind of where their place is in the kingdom, and it's just really, really good, and really, like I said, just the writing helps me with my big problem with all those kinds of shows, just because it's, again, slowly introduces everybody and lets you get to know people, and it kind of explains them when they become relevant, and not just kind of like here's all the people you need to know, and you need to keep track of all these people because they're all important. It's just like, oh shit, okay, who's that again, who's that? And I still do have kind of trouble sometimes finding like, oh, isn't he that guy who's for that house, and I forget sometimes. But I think overall, like, it really does keep all the characters very like everyone gets their own like time to like develop and to show who they are and why they do the things that they do.
I would say that's why I was able to get into it. I read the books first, just like completely on a whim, and after that first one I was immediately like, I have to know more. And I wasn't opposed to all fantasy before getting into Game of Thrones, but it was never my favorite genre because it kind of felt like it was the same thing a lot of the time. And Game of Thrones, I think what really keeps it, what sets it apart from other fantasy I've seen is not really just like the explicit like violence and like they're not scared to like swear. They talk different from like every other fantasy thing I've seen, but I think at its core what makes it interesting is that it incorporates real life history and how medieval times actually worked. You really understand just like how tribalistic and like desperate times it was for the people back then. And I just love the way that they introduce like one of the most moral characters in that show by beheading a traitor. And it's like as a modern living person that it's not really like a necessary like thing that he has to do, like in terms of like he abandoned his post and like he was just like a soldier running away from like his duty, but you get this like you understand the main character's like rigid sense of like honor, and moving on to like the people who are like genuinely bad for like power hoarding and like again just like super paranoid about protecting their secrets, and like they do all this like stuff that's just like half the stuff that would like go down in that show is just like this would have like worked out if you didn't just do like the most evil thing just now. But like
or
you
just be a little like smarter. Like maybe you shouldn't be doing this right now.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's a little too risky to do this like right this second. Like,
but it keeps you interested because like again like it's just a completely different time, and B they completely delve into like every single character. So you understand, even if you don't agree with what people are doing, you understand why they would do things like that, and they remain like consistent. And when they eventually like start having arcs, it's like legitimately like a slow turn. Like it doesn't immediately become apparent until like way later, where you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's come around like a whole lot since the beginning of the show.
Yeah, and that's this is especially the show. I don't know. Have you seen the show? I know you just said you read the book. I haven't read the books, but
yeah, I've read the books except for House of the Dragon, and I kind of stopped watching the show once it deviated too far away. Not out of like Puritan like. I mean, it has to be all the same, but it's like it was just like I wanted to refresh myself before the next one comes out, and like I didn't want too much conflicting information before I read the next book, because that's what I really care about.
Yeah,
I know how the show ends, and I'm just like that's not my ending. I'm completely cutting that out.
Hey, and and maybe it's a little different for me because I didn't watch the show again. I couldn't imagine watching this fucking show week to week. I really couldn't. I don't know how people did, honestly. But when does it really deviate from the books? I'm curious. Do you know, like season 5, 6, something like that?
Yeah, I think
because I know a lot of people point to those last 2 seasons are kind of when it kind of goes downhill. But honestly. And watching it just fresh, I had like 2 spoilers, and that was it. And that was like early on in the seasons. And I thought it was still pretty good. I thought it was still pretty consistent, honestly. Yeah. I think there was a couple things I didn't like, writing-wise, and there were a couple characters like, it felt like they were going to do something with them, but then they just ended up not doing anything, and then they just died. So it's just like, okay, what was the point of having that like character in there for so long?
Yeah, it's mainly because the last 2 ones officially I think were completely original, like not from any of George R.R. Martin's writing, and like but even like a few seasons before that they were like kind of switching characters in certain places just to like keep them closer to each other, because like those books, it's like I was like, is this how it pans out? And then I like read some of the like excerpts and I'm like, oh yeah, they were like way out there, or like like doing something completely different at this point, but like the same story beats are kind of happening, just with like more relevant characters with each other.
Okay.
So that I understand that for a TV show, but from what I've heard, and I can't like officially judge it, it does seem like it's like it goes from like subversion of expectations and like intentionally like disappointing viewer expectations with a purpose, and like like leading somewhere interesting. It goes from like George R.R. Martin's writing to like, okay, how do we replicate this ourselves? Let's just like I don't know, let's like do this, like that'll make people mad, I guess, or like and like they kind of like they're trying really hard to do what he did, but like with none of the
none of the actual like care.
Yeah,
it's not like
it's just like, well, I mean, that's what you do on Game of Thrones. You just like kill people that you've loved for this long. I guess
it's kind of like I always like this comparison of like Ren and Stimpy. Like, the original Ren and Stimpy is very out there and kind of inappropriate, but they got away with it a lot because it was really dumbed down, and they kind of had to put like a smart spin on it to like get it to clear, for the advertisers. But then they made, what was it, Ren and Stimpy adult party cartoon like 10 years after that. It's completely uncensored, but like they just kind of do with like, this is what Ren and Stimpy does. They just be crazy and do outlandish stuff. But now it's uncensored, so we can do it uncensored wise, and that just doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
Because you're doing everything, but without the creativity of it.
Yeah.
You're kind of just doing it because like, this is what they do. And so I guess I kind of get that. But I don't know, for me, someone who didn't read the books and just kind of came with it with very minimal spoilers and a fresh mind, I don't know, I thought it was pretty consistent all the way through. I watched all, because when I did nothing but watch Game of Thrones for the last like 2.5 weeks. It's quite literally all I did for the last like 2.5 weeks. I got through 8 seasons within like 2.5 weeks. And yeah, I thought it was pretty consistent. And it's funny, one of my first exposures to the show was the South Park episode. Like, I remember when that came out, because it was like the console wars one, and it was all supposed to be like a Game of Thrones parody, and like they're hamming up all the kind of cliches of the show, like oh yeah, winter's coming, there's dragons and stuff, and like the betrayal garden, everyone's just talking about betraying everybody else. But I mean, that's kind of what the show is. It is a lot of talking, but it is a lot of just like, yeah, people trying to betray this other person to get kind of just what they want. And that's kind of just and it's funny because they do it in that first season where they say Game of Thrones. And I'm like, oh, Game of Thrones. They said it. But yeah, I don't know. I still think overall it's still like a consistent show, and I never felt that it really dropped too hard. There's just like a couple things I thought, like I said earlier, just why kind of I wouldn't have wrote it that way, or I don't know why they did it this way, and even because one thing I heard consistently was like when winter finally comes and they have the big battle. Again, I'm trying not to spoil too much, but even though like when was that? 2018?
Yeah,
6 years ago. So, but the big battle. I heard a lot of people say that was like very disappointing. But to me, when I watched it, I thought it was still pretty good, but I could also see, someone who had been watching the show for like 7 or 8 years, and they finally get to that, and it's just kind of like, it's not this like big, like 4-episode, like anime battle, it's kind of just one big, long, like battle with like a, I guess a bit of an anticlimactic ending, but I still thought it was, satisfying, and, I still thought, it was pretty well done. But I could also see how someone who would watch the show for so long, and you just see that, it could be a little disappointing. Or you can get your hopes kind of high, and it's not really this, big, like, country-filled fucking giant fucking battle. But I don't know. To me, as a casual viewer, I thought it was pretty good. And overall, the show, I think, stays pretty consistent throughout, honestly. But again, if I ever read the books, I could change that, but I still think it's pretty solid overall. I mean, there was a reason I sat there and, watched it for like 2.5 weeks, just like back to back to back to back. Like, because I would get to a point, and again, I don't, how much of the, I don't know if you said it, or maybe I'm just stupid and I forgot in like the last like 5 fucking seconds, but how much of the show did you actually watch?
I watched, I think, like, up till, like, halfway into season 6.
Okay, so you saw, like, a good chunk of it.
Yeah.
There were just certain sections where I'd be like, okay, well, like, I'm watching it, like, at night at, like, fucking 3 in the morning. I'm like, okay, I gotta go to bed. Like, I'll just watch this last one and, I go to bed. And then I'll watch it and I'll be like, ah, shit, like, what the fuck? They just have to do it right now? Okay, I gotta watch the next one. Like, I remember watching episode 9 of season 4. That's when they have the wedding. I knew about it, but I didn't know exactly what happens in it. So, like, that was one of the moments where I was watching, like, really late at night, like 4 in the fucking morning. I was like, okay, I'll watch, like, this one, and then I'll fucking go to bed. And I watched it, and I just mouth agape with, like, my fucking jaw to the ground. I was like, what the fuck? Okay, I gotta watch the next one. And I think,
they're like several episodes, and like they're far away from each other too. There's several episodes that stick out to me that are like, I could not fathom having to wait for the next episode after seeing that. It's
or like the ending. I think to season, was it 5 or 6, where it's John, and he comes out and he sees like the sign, and he that thing happens to him because he's like the night watchman. He's the I want to say quartermaster. It's not called a quartermaster. What's it called? It's like the leader of the night watchmen.
Yeah.
And then they say they found his uncle, and then he comes outside, and that thing happens to him. You know what I'm talking about? I think that's the end of season 5 or 6. I'm pretty sure.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that also happened to me when I'm like, okay, I'll watch this last episode. And I think at that point, that day, I was literally watching till like 5 in the morning. I'm like, okay, this absolutely has to be the last one I watch. And then I watched that, and then I just can't believe it. There's just multiple times where they do shit like that. I was like, I just can't believe that they did this. Holy shit! I gotta keep watching. And kind of like you said, that's why I couldn't imagine trying to watch this shit at like, or kind of watching it week to week, because it's just like I couldn't wait. I couldn't even like stop myself at like 5:30 in the morning to stop watching, because I had to know what happened next. Yeah. And I guess that's just a testament of why it was so popular, and especially at the time. When did it initially come out? Like 2012? 2011. Like that's where a lot of people say is like the golden age of like TV is like 2008 to like 2014, because they had all those shows like Game of Thrones, when Breaking Bad was still airing, Mad Men. I think that was also when the True Detective came out too. I can see why that whole like boom period was really well thought of, because Man,
Back
even
when they
just
were
watching
trying
it.
to actually get people on streaming platforms.
Yeah, well, even before that,
It
I'd
was a
say.
little bit, yeah.
I'd say like when they were just kind of starting to compete, because I feel like we were talking about this earlier because we were talking about Stranger Things.
Yeah. A show that
like,
doesn't know
the-
how to competently balance characters.
And we'll probably talk more about that once we get into our next topic. Yeah, because that was when did Stranger Things comes out? Like 2012, 2013?
I think
was it
season
later
2
than
was
that?
like 6. It might have been 15. Yeah.
Okay, because like that was still like right before streaming services came out, and or like kind of right as they were coming out.
Yeah, I think it
and-
was only on Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like kind of the first. I'd say that I'd point to that as like the first big like streaming service show was that the
Mhm.
original season of Stranger Things. That's kind of what kind of put Netflix on, not on the map, but like what put them on the map in terms of like original programming.
Yes. Yeah.
Was that first season of Stranger Things. So I guess I could see at that point, that's when they were kind of thinking they could kind of still compete with streaming services,
Mm-hmm.
and make better shows, and like, oh, people will just, we just make good shows and people watch them, and
Mm-hmm.
now it's just kind of like, oh, everything's got to fucking be streamed now, and just no more watching, well, I say there's no more watching week to week, but that's my big gripe with streaming right now. Like, we all switched to it, but now everything still comes out week to week. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's the whole point of switching over to streaming services, that they're supposed to be more convenient and all the episodes are coming out at once, but nah, I guess not anymore. Fuck you. Gotta wait fucking 8 months for like 4 more Invincible episodes.
Well, I mean, I think it like, I mean, I don't agree with like the pause in the middle of a season like way of releasing TV. I don't know why people do that. But in terms of like week to week episode releasing, it is more on like this will keep it in the public eye for a long time.
Well, I would think most of the time, especially when you talk about cable, it's more like, so we can keep consistent viewers and.
Mm-hmm.
And keep people coming back to watch our channel.
Mm-hmm.
We get consistent viewership. But now with streaming, it just I guess it just matters how many clicks you get on it. I guess.
This is to make it last longer.
Yeah.
Like, the longer it lasts, more people stay on your streaming service.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess that's what it is now.
Like if they release one episode of Stranger Things at a time, it's like, well, I guess I'm gonna have Netflix until Stranger Things is done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do like that they released. I feel like Stranger Things is one of the few shows that did it. Like, well, they'll release a season, but like it's all the episodes at once.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of other TV shows
That are on streaming services that came out all at once.
Adrian's watched a couple more episodes than I have, but I've watched the Fallout TV show. I watched the first episode, and why we brought up Game of Thrones in the first place is they have the opposite problem. Like, they
Well,
just don't know how to balance characters.
Yeah,
at all.
where Game of Thrones kind of balances like 15 different characters all doing 15 completely different things in completely different settings.
Mm-hmm.
The Fallout shows, they definitely try to make it like kind of like a D&D kind of thing, where they have like these 3 separate characters and they all come together to form like a little group to do something. But like they just, I don't know if they just got somebody who just doesn't know how to write TV or what. They can't even balance like 3 characters. They really can't. Like that first episode is like they introduce all 3 characters, but like it's like an hour long and like 40 minutes of it is just that one vault girl, and like that's kind of it. And then they only give us like a little bit of the other 2 characters, and
It's like they gave you like drops of just the most interesting character, arguably, which is the goal. You can see him at the beginning.
And I'm gonna say this again. What a fucking lazy name! You couldn't even come up with a name for him. He just had to be the Ghoul, and that's what I hate about the show. It's just like it really is just pandering to like.
Is that
I
not
guess this
like a video
like,
game?
So yeah, it is, and just okay. Let me, because I do kind of have a lot to say because I'm a big Fallout fan, and I have been since I was like my brothers burnt Fallout 3 on a fucking blank CD when I was like 9, and I played it when they were all at school because I wanted to play it, and they said I couldn't, and that made me want to play it more. And so I've been a fan since I was young, and so like I don't know, it just feels really like pandering
To like not fans or
no
like...
pandering to like fans, but in like a kind of a bad way. Like to where, like I feel like if you watch this, because you haven't played any of those games, you kind of don't really know anything about it.
Yeah.
Like if you watched it, genuinely, you would probably be confused.
It's just
'Cause
referencing stuff.
yeah.
I mean, he
'cause
looks like a ghoul.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just like this basic kind of understanding of the games, I feel like.
But like, why is that like a big problem?
Because I don't know. To me, there's more to the games than just power armor and ghouls and vault people. Like it's the, and this is what I don't like about the Bethesda games is like they don't really have that core of like, oh, this is like a post-apocalyptic like maddening world where shitty things and like terrible things happen because people are like desperate and it's a fucking wasteland.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it gets bogged down with just this, oh, cool power armor. You know what that is, right? You've heard of power armor. Oh, yeah. You know, like, don't you like stim packs? Don't you know what those are? It's just kind of like this basic... Again, that's why I say it's like pandering to, people who play the games. Doesn't really... I don't think it really captures the core of the series, which is like devastation and what humans do when they get desperate, you know? You know what I'm saying? It's like the larger, heavier themes. It's all kind of just like, I don't know, a bit washed. Like, don't get me wrong, the show is still violent, and that's actually one of the things I like about the shows. They do keep the violence, but it just seems more like like a half-baked, like, D&D fucking Fallout themed plot. Like, there's no really... I don't know. There's just no deeper writing. I feel like everything's pretty surface level, and I guess just because most video games adaptations are just like shit. So like when we get something that's just okay, and that's the overall thing I'm actually going to say about this game. I know I'm kind of, or the show that I've kind of been shitting on it, but I still think it's all right. You know, it's not terrible, but it's just kind of the public perception and everyone kind of thinking, oh man, this is great. This is the best video game TV show ever. Best video game adaptation ever. It's so great.
It probably is. Maybe. I don't know. Is Castlevania a game?
It's a game.
People were saying that one was good.
No, that one was good.
I watched that first season.
The first season was pretty good.
I just from that first episode of Fallout, like, just really didn't like it at all. That's just because like you're referencing stuff from the games. Yeah, it looks all great and stuff. But it just feels like it's all in the name of, like, merchandising. Like, it literally reminds me of... Remember when they did the C-3PO with a red arm for, like, that one movie for no reason?
Yeah.
And it was just so they could sell a new C-3PO toy?
Or like those little animals in Return of the Jedi? Or The Last Jedi?
Yeah.
And then the little porgs, and they had no, like, importance to the movie or the plot at all, and they were just made to sell fucking toys.
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of what it feels like, honestly.
Because, like, you know how fast, like... Fallout merchandise and stuff that came out, and like,
man,
I literally saw somebody walk
out. I'm all for with like, I don't want to be one of these guys because this happens to me a lot. Where I like something for like a long time and then it gets popular and then I don't know. To me, I just always feel like people aren't into it because it's of the writing or the overall, I don't know, message of the series. They just get into it very. I don't know, basically, that's all I can really describe it as. I know I'm not explaining it very well, and it's kind of hard to explain. And I don't want to come off as like, when I liked it, I liked it before it was popular, Like, it was better when no one liked it. I don't care if a lot of people like stuff. I don't know, I just don't like when people just like stuff so superficially.
Yeah, it's like it's a perfect example. Because I'm a huge fan of this, up until it declined and it became popular. Overly saturated and they ran out of ideas. The Walking Dead. There's people who wear like Daryl Dixon shirts just because they like Daryl Dixon. And I feel like not everybody who wears that is just like a loser in the Walking Dead community or something. But it's like, at what point can you admit that the show is not good anymore and it's shitty? Like,
yeah.
I would wear like a Fallout shirt, but like no, like if somebody comes up and is like, "Oh, you a big fan of the show?" and be like, "No." Because the story's boring.
Yeah.
Like, but I like Fallout, and so
Yeah.
it's like aesthetically it's pleasing to the eye. So which is why people are gonna sell like like vault shirts and like power armor and paintings and all kinds of stuff and merch, and it's gonna make a lot of money, and it's probably gonna go for way too many seasons. But it's just gonna be kind of another one of those shows that has 9 seasons for no reason, and it sells a bunch of merch. and it's probably not going to get any more interesting than it currently is with the story.
Yeah, that's my big problem with the show. Honestly, it's just the story. I actually think everything looks great. All the props and all the other things look pretty good. It's just kind of it's just the writing. It's just like, it's the most basic ass. Like, literally, I watched, because like I said, I did like the opposite of what I did with Game of Thrones. Like, I watched Game of Thrones like all the way through in like 2 weeks. When did the Fallout show come out? Like,
It's been like
Last
March? Like last
like a
month? And in the span of like 2 months, I've watched like 4 episodes, and it's like a 10-episode show. So like, I had just like no interest in it. It's because none of the characters are interesting. Nothing is well written. There's literally a point in the show where he's the Brotherhood guy. The Brotherhood guy is like, the guy he's squiring for dies, and he gets his power armor, and he gets a new squire, and he pretends to be somebody else. And it's actually this guy who bullied him when he was when he was just a recruit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And literally the story is that because he's treating him bad because he doesn't like him and he bullied him, but he doesn't know it's him. And the guy's just like, yeah, I used to bully this one guy. He's like, oh, what was his name? And then he says his name, but he doesn't obviously know that's him because he's pretending to be somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, yeah, I bullied him a lot, but that's because I got bullied. And, I feel kind of bad because I bullied him because other people bullied me. And that's literally like, and you're supposed to be like, aw, he wasn't a bad guy. It's like this most basic bullshit kind of fucking writing. Like, what are you, fucking 12?
It's showing like
it's just literally like, it's just that type of shit. It's just like, there's inklings of good ideas here, but you just write it in the most blasé, like straightforward. Oh, he was bullied too? I guess that makes sense.
It's like you're trying to add
so
edges.
he wasn't a bad guy.
You're trying to add edges to a character simply through dialogue.
Yeah.
Instead of like
you're telling me he's sympathetic. You're telling me it's literally the opposite of show don't tell. That's this whole show. It's just talking to you and telling you, yep, I'm a good person. You should root for me. He was a bad guy. You shouldn't like him. Yeah. Oh wait, he felt bad for it.
And they do that.
So we should be sympathetic to him. And it's just like,
they do that shit way too much in The Walking Dead. Like towards the end, like it's just the dialogue, them like being in the woods. There's no interesting sets. There's no interesting like villain. They just fight like zombies, and like zombies are basically like pushover. You're not even scared of them anymore, and it's just like nothing is happening. Like, and it's just because everything is trying to be told through dialogue. So it's just like, if it's gonna be told through dialogue, you should have just made a book.
and again, it's not like Game of Thrones where it's like,
I feel like Game of Thrones has a lot of like history to it in the show that you don't see. But they have a lot of
that's relevant.
They have a lot of like good character acting to back it up and be like, okay, I believe that this happened to you and this is the result of your horrible upbringing and stuff like that. So I mean, I guess it just really depends on like the way you're describing it. And I haven't seen the Fallout show, but if it really is just like, oh yeah, I was bullied, so that's why I'm.
That's
like
why
that doesn't seem like nearly as interesting as like, oh, like my whole life, because I'm a dwarf, that like that like completely like shifted the dynamic of like my entire like you can tell why all the other family members are like a-holes because they're like completely privileged and they can get whatever they want, and like the reason he's a good person is because like he was the one who got the short end of the stick for like no other reason than just the way he looks for the fact that he doesn't look good for
I like that line in the first episode. I don't mean to spoil it, but it is in the first episode where he's talking to John and he calls him a bastard because he is a bastard, and then he talks about he says something to the effect of like, oh yeah, well us bastards got to stay together, and John says, oh, you're not a bastard. He goes, well, a dwarf is a bastard in all fathers' eyes, like automatically, and it's like that. There's more nuance to it. It's not just, oh, I bullied him because I got bullied. That's the only reason, because people were mean to me, so I needed to be mean to someone else. But I feel bad about it. I just think, just the character and the plot writing is just really, really fucking weak. And I think just when, again, people have been talking about how it's like the best video game adaptation, it's just like, I guess so, but that's not really like a high bar, I guess people have just been fed shit with all like the Hitman movie and what was it, the Mario movie and all
Assassin's
this other
Creed,
shit.
remember that?
Assassin's Creed, I remember that.
Watch that in the theater.
Fucking Jesus. But yeah, I guess when you just get like fed shit your whole life, when you actually eat like, I don't know, when you actually drink piss, you're like, oh, actually this is not that bad. It's pretty good. Like, that's what I mean. That's kind of how I compare. Yeah, it's the little corn nugget among the pile of shit that is video game adaptation. But even then, it's just not. It's just all right. It's just okay. Again, I think the sets and the way it looks. Actually, one of my big gripes with this, like the setting, is for a bombed out post-apocalyptic Fallout world. There's a lot of greenery for some fucking reason. I know. It's been like, at that point, it had been like 200, 300 years, something like that. But it's just like, I don't know. And maybe it's just because I grew up on like the early Fallout games and Fallout New Vegas. It's just, because all those places were just bombed out and there's just no greenery whatsoever, and it's just devastated. And to me, I guess maybe it was budget limitations and they can't just, rip out all the trees of the places they want to film. But I don't know. It's just a little too green. I feel like if like bombs really did, and I'm not a bomb expert or know how radiation fucking works, but I would think if these devastating atomic bombs went off everywhere in the United States, I don't think there'd be too many like trees and like greenery and shit. But there's like they go through forests and there's like there's this whole place that like outside of it's just like there's like a big forest, and it's just like. Yeah, I get it's been 200 years, but is that really enough time for just trees to be unaffected? The same thing with like a lot of the animals. There's some like deer and stuff, and they look completely normal. And it's just like, wouldn't they be a little irradiated or like kind of fucked up looking too? Even like a little bit. Does not even just they have to be like this horrifying like fucking atrocities. It's just maybe like an extra head or maybe 2-3 antlers or just something. They just look like normal fucking deer. And it's just like. So I think that it all goes with kind of Bethesda and how they like to write stuff, and that's kind of how they write their Fallout games, and that's why probably Fallout 4 is my least favorite. It's just kind of they get the bullet points, but they don't get, I don't know, just the finer details in the writing. Just kind of like what I said earlier, just the absolute just devastation and desperateness like humans would get in a situation like this, like a completely destroyed atomic world. But yeah, I mean, granted, I haven't watched the whole show. I'm only like 5 episodes in, but just
I don't
seeing
feel like
those.
I need to get 5 episodes in because, so like for anybody who hasn't watched Fallout or like you, Daniel, so like I mainly played Fallout 4. I played a little bit of New Vegas, but I played Fallout 4. It was like my first open world game ever, really. And I like actually enjoyed it a lot. I know like a lot of RPG players are like, it's not a real role player, but whatever. It's like bare bones and does what it needs to do. But what I liked about it so much is literally the beginning is just like a quick exposition, like, hey, we live in 2077, but it looks like the 60s. It's because we had all these nuclear advancements during World War, and now we're in 2077 and we have robots and all this stuff. All the bombs went off, and you the air raid siren goes off, and your character runs and gets into their vault with their family. You get frozen for like 200 years. You wake up, and you just go out into the wasteland, and that all is in like a 10-minute like segment. And then as soon as you walk like 20 feet. Like, you literally, like, if you walk down to, like, this gas station that's literally, like, walking distance from where you spawn, like, where you start the game, there's literally, like, these, like, giant mutated rats that try to kill you. Like, and they just throw you into it. And that's what I liked about it so much, because it's just like, oh, I'm just free to kind of roam wherever I want, I guess. Like, yeah, you're prompted with a quest, but you don't have to go do it right away. And it feels like that's what the show did for the first episode. Just sets up a quest instead of like, I don't know, kind of. Like,
it's not even that it's a bad like quest to go on. Like her basically her father gets kidnapped and she has to go find him. And that's not even, and the way they set it up, it's not even like the worst way to do it. It's not even like a bad idea.
They spend too much time doing it.
Yeah. Like I said, they try to introduce these 3 characters, but the majority of that first episode is followed like the Vault Girl. It's just like, so why give me like 40 minutes of the Vault Girl and then 10 minutes of the other guys? Why introduce the other guys at all? Just wait till the next episode, or maybe split it up a little more. It's just like and man, they do that, and I fucking hate this. It just makes me feel like they just think the audience is just a bunch of fucking retards.
I mean, they kind of are sometimes.
They when they introduce the characters, they like put on in big bold silver letters like their names. Like I think what was the word? Like Abigail or something. They go Abigail, Lucy. They go Lucy, and it's like her story. And then they switch over to
the Vault Dweller.
Is that what it says?
I'm pretty sure.
And I don't even know. That's even worse because when they introduce Maximus, it's just the Brotherhood guy. They do they do the same thing. It's like Maximus. It's like, so you really like, what was the point of doing that? Like there's another point, and they do this like episode 3 or 4 where they flash back to the past to show you something that's relevant to these characters, and they have to put in big letters the beginning. I'm like I wouldn't fucking know that if you just switched like perspectives to like the past. Like you got to tell me we're back there. Like you have to be like, yeah, we're going back to the past now, guys. So you have to hold my hand, and I'm like a fucking 4-year-old, and like I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like I think that's just unbelievable. There's no point. You take those out, it detracts nothing from the show.
I can live.
But like I don't know. I guess just the writers think people are fucking stupid, and they don't know if we switch to a different character's perspective, or we'll confuse them if we switch perspectives. Now we got to put a big fucking title card in the middle of the fucking episode to tell you, oh yep, this is a different character now. Mm-hmm. Like you have. It's like, again, it's like I said before. It's the antithesis of show don't tell. They don't show everything. They tell you everything.
Yeah, they tell, like, so that's what I was gonna say. I could live with all the like the minuscule things that I don't like about it, but the big like takeaway that's like just totally different from the games, and like what the games does better is just the first episode. It's a pilot. It's 75 minutes. It's almost like the length of a movie.
Yeah, that definitely annoys me with TV shows a lot of the time. And again, like I hate comparing everything to Game of Thrones, but just because it's on the mind, like those books, like they are just so dense, and like those I can't imagine those as movies. And they put the entirety of each book into every season. So I get that. It's one of like the few TV shows that, I mean, I don't watch nearly as much TV as I do movies. I'm way more of a movie guy, but I for the most part am like fairly turned off like kind of quickly into a show if they don't justify like early on like why every episode's going to be like 40 minutes to an hour. I don't prefer that kind of TV. I like 20 to 30 minutes for like just like anything else. I think that's like the sweetest spot for episodic to like storytelling kind of TV shows. So like I could understand like if a feature length episode like isn't grabbing you, that's like I have to like sit through like an hour of this like every time. Like I can at least get why people would be turned off from that.
Well, the worst part is so like Better Call Saul is about like a lawyer, so like that might just be boring to somebody. Like, there's no action. Like Fallout,
which is what a lot of people say, especially comparing it to Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I can see that.
Fallout literally has like the meatiest, most juicy, entertaining, like eye-popping, like world you could have, and they show none of it for the first episode. Like you think Fallout, I'm gonna get to see all these things, or I'm gonna be able to see this nuclear wasteland, and you literally see nothing the whole time. Like, because
where do they spend their most of the time?
They spend it with the Vault Girl, like underground in the vault. And again, it'd be different if the whole episode was just that. And I don't know. I think she's interesting. Again, overall, that's kind of that's why I think the show's more just frustrating than anything, because there's good ideas, the sets look pretty good, and all the kind of visuals from the game, the armor, the vault suits, and all that looks pretty good. It's just the writing. It's just like, if someone just thought a little more about it, someone just put a little more effort into it, it would have been like a lot better. But it's just it's kind of like that initial, what we were talking about, the initial like motivation for her going out is this raider attack on her vault, right? Mm-hmm. But
takes forever.
Yeah, it takes like 50 minutes.
They
I
do
do like
an
again. I do
elaborate plan.
like yeah. It's like this elaborate plan they do to sneak in and kill everybody, but they didn't really have to pretend to be other people. They could have just
Kill everybody.
ran in there and killed because no one has weapons or anything. And then for some reason they don't kill all of them. They take them hostage first and leave them in a room with a bomb for some reason. Even though they're supposed to be raiders, and raiders are usually supposed to be these nomadic, like, crazy people who just kill and rape and pillage, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, I haven't seen the rest of the show. Maybe at the end it's revealed they're some secret fucking government agents or some shit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. From what I saw, and they even capture a couple of them and show them in the last episode. There's just supposed to be regular raiders, from what I'm to understand. But
it's really just the length. Like I can enjoy, like you just said, Game of Thrones is like a good like counter. Like you know you could watch an hour of that and not be bored. Like I watched, the Batman movie that's 3 hours, and for the most part, I didn't think it was all too long, and I could handle the length. I watched it like 3 times. Like, but it's just like people don't care about their runtime. It's just like just fill it up with whatever, and just like it feels like all these moments aren't like leading up to something significant. It's just like, how can we waste time to fill up the 75-minute slot? And like, if they just filled it up with something more clever, I'd be interested. Like Breaking Bad, each episode's an hour. Like, but it doesn't. I feel like I can't skip a single moment. Like except for Skylar singing the Happy Birthday to Ted. But like literally, there's like just not a bad minute in that show. Like, and it's
there's
just
not any what feels like wasted time.
And it's just because they think about like what's actually going to be entertaining, but it feels like there's like 20 minutes of entertainment in a 75-minute episode, and 40 minutes of dialogue. And then the other minutes are just showing me references to the game. I'm like, how about I just go play the game?
I'd rather just play the game. Just you're gonna sit there and be like, oh yeah, stim packs. You guys remember what that is, right? See, or yeah, what a dog. Yeah, everyone's got a dog. Dog in the wasteland.
It's like your first companion.
In like every fucking game.
First game. Not the first game.
Like every fucking game. And just like, we got dogs. Like, it's just shit like that. And then even sometimes, and I know I just complimented him on how everything looks, but at certain points, it just feels like cosplay. Nothing kind of seems like it acts like it should. Like when there's this point where this guy sticks a stim pack in somebody, but it just feels like he had a prop and he just went like that, and the prop didn't move, and it's like I don't know if you've ever seen what it looks like. It's like a needle, and it has like a little like pressure thing at the top.
It's like an advanced
it's supposed
syringe.
to, and it's supposed to like go in, and then the little counter at the top is supposed to move, and it just does it, and nothing moves, and it just looks like a fucking cosplay prop. And that's what I mean. It's like some of it is good, and there's inklings of good ideas. It's just does not feel like they were thought all the way through. They were just thought in this very basic, straightforward. Oh, what do people like when they play those Fallout games? Oh, they like dogs and power armor and vaults and ghouls. Shit, he's like, so far that motherfucker's the only ghoul in the whole fucking show, and it's just like in the games, and that's like a big part of most of the games is like ghouls are this very present thing, because radiation's so deadly. If you just spend just the wrong amount of time around it, you'll just turn into a ghoul, literally. And they're basically a whole different race of people, and this whole allegory for like racism and stuff, because people don't like ghouls, and they treat them differently than regular humans, because they're and they call them like zombies, and that's their like fucking like slur word, basically. And like none of that is explored at all, none of it. And I'm not even saying that you had to absolutely, but just at least a little something, like the ghoul character goes into a shout and be like, "No, get out of here, we don't serve your kind," or something like that. Something simple, but not even that. And that's what I mean. It just doesn't grab the deeper kind of meaning and usual writing of like those games. It just feels like a very basic surface. It's like they got like the writers to play that game for like an hour maybe, and they're just like they wrote the show over like an hour of gameplay, and that was it. That's literally what it feels like. But I don't think my opinion would change even if I watched the rest of those episodes. I probably will, just because I like the Fallout series, and I guess just whatever it could get at this point. I mean, when did Fallout 4 come out? Fucking 2016, 2017? I'll take whatever, honestly. I like the world and the themes. I like the games. So I don't mind just watching the fucking show, but goddamn. I don't think I dislike it as much as you do, even though I just kind of ranted about it for the last like 40 minutes.
Well, honestly,
I just think it's okay, and I think if anything, it's just frustrating because there's good ideas, there's good like inklets of character in there, but it's just written in such a basic, boring, straightforward kind of way that I can't. It's just hard for me to get into it.
It's like,
and don't get me wrong, you know, I'm a sucker for fucking capitalism and consumerism. Just like, you know, one thing I always get suckered into. You know what it is. Whenever they make like a drink or or a meal or food around like a character,
that Fallout Arizona tea.
Yeah, like I drink that. I buy that shit because fucking or like when we went to go see Demon Slayer and they had those like Demon Slayer themed drinks down at that place below the theater. I'm like totally got suckered into that. Yeah, I'm sure they just took like two things they already had and just put it together. I'm like, oh, Tanjiro drink. Like I'd buy that shit because I'm fucking stupid. Mm-hmm. Like that's not what the problem. The problem is, to me, it's just people not. It's not the consuming, and it's just not thinking about it, or not wanting anything better, not realizing that the show's not very good, and not wanting it to be better. Because that's the overall. Like I don't mind if they did a second season or a third season, especially because what they tease at the end that I already saw. I didn't see the last episode, but I saw a clip of what they tease at the end. And it's just like, oh, I hope if they do that, I hope they write it very well, please. Mm-hmm. But I'm not opposed to having a second season. It just needs better writing. People need to care about what the characters actually do, not just, oh, Vault Girl, oh, Ghoul, oh, Brotherhood of Steel, oh, that's cool, I like that. That's so nice. Like,
I don't even need
I wish people would care more about like the actual content and the writing of the show instead of just the basic like, oh, I like Fallout, so this show is good.
I was just gonna say it's like going to like Applebee's because they're like, oh, you can get 50
What was your first mistake?
$4 beer,
50 boneless wings, but it's like they're like popcorn chicken nuggets.
Yeah,
it's like, would you rather that or like go to like some local place that you know you really like that's got like really really good wings or
but
really
they're
good
like
chicken.
kind of expensive,
and it's just like
those sound like different like allegories. That seems more like a convenience than like I like it because of this. It's
yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying is it'd be different if like they were like, oh, it's just too expensive to make a good show. I'm like, no, because Stranger Things was able to do it for 2 seasons. And people were still consuming and buying the things that they want.
If you just saw the new, what's that fucking show called? The Digital Circus. They just came out with their second episode. Mm-hmm. They're like a completely independent fucking studio, and they were able to do that, you know, and that's fucking amazing. That's like some of the best like internet animation that I've ever seen. Honestly, it's pretty amazing, and it's crazy that. What I would assume is a small team of people, you know, did that, and again, doesn't mean it just goes to show you, or like what we talked about last time. Fucking Chan is Missing. They didn't have a whole lot of. They obviously didn't have a whole lot of budget either, but they were able to make it work, and people liked it. And I mean, people liked it so much it got into the, you know, Criterion closet, so it must have been doing something right.
If you're making millions of dollars and you have $1 million budgets, there's just no excuse for bad writing.
Yeah.
Like, I
mean, it's not like money buys you a better. Just look at the Amazon Lord of the Rings show. They thought, oh, we're gonna put $1 billion into this. That means it has to be good. Like that's not like money is no replacement for the writing.
Yeah, because I saw this clip recently. It's like the part in Smiling Friends in the Mr. Frog episode where they do all this shit and they change Glep and all this other crap. Told them to do all this other shit.
They like hired him for one specific thing, and they're like, well, I mean, according to our like statistics, I don't think this is gonna like reach a wider audience. And
and then he's just like, oh, this will be perfect, and he finally shows it to everybody, and they boo and they hate it.
We've done $200 million.
We spent $200 million on this. What? Like they're just so confused. It's like,
so I'm not saying like, oh, you buy like the most expensive writer, but I'm saying that it's obviously not. oh, money or like convenience that it's an issue.
It's just
they
replacement for at its core.
Yeah.
It has to like have.
And they also just want to just
the
rush
writing
stuff.
to back it up.
It's all
Yeah.
about time. It's just like, well, let's just get it out now, so we can get people like talking about it and buying stuff like now.
Yeah.
Like instead of taking more time to like, man, I cannot think of the word right
Let
now.
it cook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a word. It'll come to me later. I'll think of it like 30 minutes later. But yeah, just to kind of brush up on it, like to make it better than it is. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know who gets to review these like episodes and be like, that was fantastic. That was 10 out of 10. Like,
Yeah, sometimes not even just this fall show, just a lot of things it's great because there's no way they don't preview these things before they put them out, right? Like,
Well, I don't
someone-
think people are. I don't think the people who watch them are like watching it back, like, oh, this is bad. But I guess we have to. I think the people who are making it, they seem passionate about what they're doing.
It's just like it's like when The Rock posted that picture of it was like him and his fucking creative team, I guess, and they all watched and they're like, oh yeah, good to go. Yeah, this is great. Like he really got himself and like 8 other people to sit down and watch it, and they all collectively said, you know what? Yeah, that was pretty good. That Black Adam, man, that was badass.
The way you guys are describing the show, it kind of sounds like if Peacemaker, instead of those episodes being 30 minutes long, they were like an hour long. Because like that show is like all right, but like if all those episodes were like an hour long each, my patience would run thin
like
really quickly.
A good
Yeah,
comparison.
I don't think it's
If they were
honestly-
just like, it sounds like if it were just shorter and like understood, like, okay, this is what, we're gonna like pack in all the meat of the the story into this episode and like really briskly and like well paced into this like 30-minute thing, then that sounds like it would help it go a long way. Even if it like wound up making a few more episodes because of that, you would just be able to digest it a little bit better through that kind of consumption of episodes.
I was just gonna say, like, basically, because you were saying, like, it seemed like they were passionate. I don't doubt like the creative team. Like, I'm sure they had like a ton of fun making like the power armor and making the sets and making everything look cool. Like, or like the creative team on any show. I don't think this is like the creative minds. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna get into this whole like discussion about the man, but like, it really does feel like it's just like the people who are reviewing these aren't watching to see if they're good. They're just seeing if they fall into these guidelines. It's just like, oh, it's 75 minutes long.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it's
like
kind of what you said
obligation-
earlier.
obligation.
You're like, yeah, with like in the Mr. Frog episode of The Smiling Friends, like what you were saying. Oh, well, audiences show that they blah 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 blah. And to me, and this is what I think in just in life. You can look at statistics and read instructions, all this bullshit about what people like, but without actually being among people and talking to people and knowing people and knowing how to relate to them, you only get that when you actually interact and relate to people. Not there's some things, especially in terms of stuff like that, you can't find statistically on a piece of paper or like with like numbers.
don't need to
You
be
just
so
gotta know. You just gotta be a human. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, is that so wrong?
Not even
Like,
that.
that's so
You
hard
just
for
don't have to be so
executives like bots. Like fucking, just got like already got the Neuralink in their fucking brains. Like,
Even if you can't do that,
Give it a few years, but this won't be a problem anymore.
yeah,
Even
for,
if
yeah,
you
for
can't-
real, yeah. No, we just had our friend. I forgot what we were just like playing fucking something. And
and he was like, watch
The Sympathizer on HBO because we had that's the thing. He I guess he was.
I'm
just
actually
like,
looking forward to that.
Yeah, he said it was pretty good. I'm interested in that show. But he had watched it, and I guess he was smoking or something because he had mentioned it like an hour before. Like, oh, I watched Sympathizer. It's pretty good. You should watch
He
it.
just said it out
And
of
then
the
like
blue.
randomly like an hour later, he's just like, yeah, watch The Sympathizer on HBO Max. And we just thought that was so funny.
No,
we
he
were all
typed
just
it,
like,
no, he typed it into like
did you-
Overwatch like public chat. So like,
Yeah,
just to advertise the show.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, he got the Neuralink with ads.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, just imagine in the future when we all have like Neuralinks and you just get an ad sent to your fucking brain, you just splurt out, watch The Sympathizer on HBO Max. Just randomly like all your friends.
Oh boy.
Well, what I was getting at is just like, I feel like people
Fuck
just
that
need to
show.
be.
Everyone who worked on it needs to die.
People just need to be.
Oh yeah, if you like it, you're a fucking idiot.
The people who are in charge of these shows don't need to be so stringent on like how long's the episode gonna be? Like, and like do all of this, like it needs to fulfill these guidelines every season, every episode.
There's a blue guy in it. Audiences show that they react a lot better when there's blue people in it. There's, I don't know, something stupid like that.
It's just like, you know, like look at Smiling Friends. You know, it's like 15 minutes per episode, and like it's like thoroughly enjoyable. Like for the most
thoroughly
part.
paced.
To be fair, those are like that's a completely different anime. Because most cartoons are like 11 minutes. That's
I'm just saying. Like,
but I think that's just the kind of the core of what
issue.
we're getting at. Just the writing and the pacing of the show is very terrible. But everything else, the sets, how everyone looks, and even the acting, it's not even that bad.
It's just the meat.
It's just the actual things that, you know, make a TV show or a movie work, which is like the writing. But yeah, you wanna? I don't know. We haven't seen it all, and I guess take it with a grain of salt. But you just want to give a rating for that fucking show real quick.
I don't think we should rate this at all because you saw the first episode and you saw
I've only
the first
seen like
4.
half of it.
People are gonna get pissed if you rate it right now.
We only gotta rate what we've thoroughly seen all the way.
But I don't know. That's the thing, and I don't really feel like this about a lot of stuff, but I feel like I could, and I don't think watching the rest of the show really could change it. I guess I won't say what I would rate it, but honestly, I really don't see me watching those whole episodes and being like, oh man, I was completely wrong. This is genius. Like, I really don't, like, I really think I kind of have the feel and know how I'm going to feel about the show for the rest of the... And I think that's the mark of a bad show, honestly. When you kind of watch it or watch only the first 2 episodes, you're like...
It's not getting better from here?
Yeah, and you can already tell that either you're not going to like it or it's not just not going to get any really better.
I don't know.
Especially a show, because...
maybe in between episodes, I'll give you like a refresher if I feel like watching it. I mean, I'm not fully turned off from it yet, just from other people that I've heard from, not just like fans, because like I don't give a single shit about Fallout. Like I'm not hearing from those people. I'm just hearing like from non-fans. They're like, this actually like works pretty well. So I'm taking into consideration what you guys are saying. I'm probably go into it with like reasonable expectations.
Okay,
of, like, it's not going to be amazing like some people are saying, but there might be something here that like, especially like
again, even though we just spent
sometimes shows just pick up, that still happens.
Yeah, no, and again, like I don't mind if they make a second season, and even though we just spent the last hour like shitting on it, I still think it's all right. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not like a bastardization of the games in the world. It's just very meh. It's very mid.
You still give it a fair shake. Me and Adrian are totally biased as fuck.
Yeah, and especially me again, because I admitted earlier that I've been a big fan, and I am a big fan of this series, and have been for a really long time. So I don't know, maybe my hopes were just really high for no fucking reason, but I was kind of disappointed with the show, and I mean, I even said that I'll still watch it, but I can already kind of tell that probably not gonna like the rest, and it'll probably all just be very mid and very okay.
You say that,
and maybe also just because I just constantly I feel like I'm me and maybe Hunter and like 1 or 2 other people I've seen on like Instagram, but like for the most part I've seen most people say, oh, this is the best video game adaptation ever. This is how you make a video game adaptation, when it's really just okay. Just like insufferably mid.
No, I was gonna say
insufferably mid.
I was gonna say, you say that. Walking Dead turned up after season 2.
Did it though? Did it?
Hey, nah, because you watched all the way to like season 9.
Yeah, no, I know I did. Whichever season Rick dies, or he doesn't die, but whenever they write him out of the show because he was like sick or something.
Season 9, episode 5.
Yeah.
Just remember that.
That's how much I watched it up to, and I could say, especially because I watched that consistently when it was coming out. It's like half that show was good.
Oh, but yeah,
that show's all right. Play the games. Play Fallout New Vegas.
We're definitely gonna name this episode the just hating on TV.
No, because I praised Game of Thrones, and I didn't hate on that. It's a good show.
No, we definitely did more hating on TV than
maybe just Game of Thrones / Fallout impressions.
Yeah. Play Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 2. Don't be scared of the isometric old like PC way of gaming. It's a good system.
Doesn't have good
play it, please.
It just
they're good games.
Right. We want to move to the actual movie now.
Yeah. Unless y'all had anything else y'all wanted to talk about, maybe that we were.
I'd say it's about time for.
I can't think of anything else.
Okay.
Just-
Well,
that's all the current,
I guess it's
current events.
I guess it's that time. We had a movie recommended last time by our boy Hunter over here. If you want to go ahead, just start. It is your movie.
Yeah, I recommended Scorsese's Shutter Island, and I recommended it because it was awesome, and I watched it, and I watched it a second time, and it really didn't change my opinion at all. I really thought it was a great movie. And it's kind of different of Scorsese. I feel like a lot of his movies are like gangster New York movies, and it's like kind of different to see him like kind of depart to something else. I do believe it's based on a book.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
But it still does feel kind of like out of his realm, and it's cool to see him do something else. It honestly reminds me of like, you know what I don't see a lot of anymore?
What?
Like, it's like they're not just like there's plenty of adventure movies, but not a lot of adventure movies are like they add like they throw like a loop, or like they throw something new into the story that's like a mystery, and like it feels like a mystery novel. Like I mean, I guess it's based on one.
And I mean, it's funny that you say adventure. I saw it more as like kind of mystery movie. Yeah, like kind of you were saying, a mystery thriller, more like.
Yeah.
Because you know, they're like detectives, or they're not detectives. What they're like state police or something. What was it?
Duly appointed city marshals. Is that the
Am
line?
am I also the only one who was distracted by the? I got really distracted by their accents.
I don't know. I wasn't.
And maybe that was
I don't know.
purposeful because of the twist at the end, but specifically Mark Ruffalo just felt like
Yeah,
he just didn't know how to actually
wait.
do the accent.
I think that might sort of play into. I mean, does he start talking differently by the end?
Like,
after
I feel
the
like he
reveal?
Yeah,
does.
he does, because that's what
Okay,
I liked
then,
about it.
then that's
is-
more understandable.
Okay, yeah.
He was like, they're on the boat, and I love that conversation. And it almost feels like they're like, they realized it, like Scorsese, like we're Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio, Mark Ruffalo, and Scorsese's like, okay, your accent just kind of sucks ass. So then he's like, well, you should still keep it in anyway, because then Leonardo DiCaprio can like question it, and then that way the audience isn't being left like, why does he sound like that? Because like literally at the beginning they're on the boat, and Leonardo DiCaprio's like your accent sounds kind of weird. And he's like where are you saying from? And he's like, oh, I'm from like I forget what he says.
Boston?
Of Ashton. I
Yeah.
think
It
that's
sounds like-
what it's supposed to be.
I
think.
might just be saying.
No,
that.
he says like somewhere different. And he's like he's just like
Never heard
like
that accent before.
oh yeah, you sound like you're like from like Philadelphia or something. And he's like, yeah, like they called attention to it, so I liked that. Like that, I feel like that kind of fixed it. And then like Mark Ruffalo, he definitely does sound different by the end.
I thought so. Like I'm trying to think about it, and I think he does, but
Because
I just kept thinking that whole time, like, man, is he trying to do this on purpose? Because this is like just really obvious. He is just not hitting this accent like at all. Specifically, Mark Ruffalo. I think Leonardo DiCaprio keeps it because I don't know. He's just a good actor, and he does it very well. And I never got distracted by him, but it was mainly just Mark Ruffalo. Just kind of like sometimes he'd sound good, but then other times it's just like he just drops the accent entirely and just starts talking normally. So I'm like, I just got confused kind of on that.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, that kind of just added to the, like what's real, what's not. Like not less of what's real, but also just like it's what I like.
What's a mistake and what's like real?
Like
Yeah.
like you know in the movie Joker, like they kind of do the whole unreliable narrator, and it's like, okay, like how much of what I'm visually seeing is actually real? Like did he actually have that conversation with Thomas Wayne, or like meet that girl at all? But it's like in this, I'm not really questioning what's real. I'm just questioning like is Teddy Daniels sane or not? And like I don't think at any point he sees anything that's just unreal. The only thing
Except for the dreams.
Besides that, and his like wife just keeps like appearing.
Yeah.
Like she's obviously not there.
But I like that distinction. Yeah.
But you can clearly tell, like, you know, versus something like Joker. And I like that it's less about, oh, like, see, like, you can just get gaslit into being crazy. Like, and it's just like, it's more about like, what trauma can really fucking do to you. And the reason I feel like it was like kind of like it's weird. It's not totally action packed, but I felt like it was like a real adventure, because at first they're like, it starts as just like a simple, they're just trying to find a missing woman, to like then it almost like feels like a genre switch. Like when they finally do go into the like the scary place. It's like I forget what it's called, but it's basically like the level 3
Unit C.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's basically like the fucking, what do you call it? Isolation unit.
Ward
It's,
C.
it's like the worst of the worst prisoners.
Yeah.
And like I remember that part feeling like scary, and then like that guy jumps out and he's like, "Tag, you're it," and like he like runs after him. Like,
I found that good.
and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
funny.
Oh, I mean, that's kind of funny.
I felt like it was just like always like escalating to like not stakes, but I'm trying to think of that word. Like it gave me more like anticipation to like be like, oh, okay, like I need to figure out what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
And the reveal is kind of disappointing to me, but I feel like I'm glad that he's able to like, in a way, the simulation worked because it made him cope to be able to like say the profound dialogue that he says at the end, which is like what sells the whole movie to me. It's just like that's the whole point of the movie. It's just, is it worse to live as a monster or die as a good man?
Yeah.
And like that shows that they broke ground with him, because before he wasn't thinking about that at all. He's just living in like this detective fantasy land.
Mm-hmm.
But by the end of it, he's like having profound and existential kind of crisis in his mind, and he basically kind of just makes his choice at the end, which is what I think happens. I do think that he was
so you
conscious at the end.
Yeah, so you think that he was basically cured of his delusions, but he decided to like lobotomize himself basically?
Yeah.
Like sell that he was
I definitely also think that. And I guess that's also my big thing with this movie. I feel like the whole movie kind of hinges on that twist at the end. And how you respond to it or how you kind of look at it is kind of going to determine how you feel about the movie as a whole. And that's why I say, and I said this before we started recording, that this movie definitely benefits from watching it a second time, which I did. Because I remember at first, the twist kind of caught me off guard. I was like, what? Huh? And even at the end when they revealed, I feel like I was Leonardo DiCaprio. I was just like, nah, you're trying to trick me, man. You're trying
I don't know what to think no more.
I don't know what to think no more. That's what I was literally like, I really felt like, I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, nah, you're trying to trick me. Yeah, you're trying, nah. Because I literally thought I was in his shoes. I was just like, no, you're just trying to trick me. No, you're trying to get me think I'm crazy so you can put me in here and not let me out. Like, that's what you were doing. You're trying to trick me. And like, I like that, but the actual, like, twist itself, like, I'm actually the patient. And I was crazy the whole time is a little cliche. That's why I said this movie definitely benefits from a second watch, because you see all the little inklings throughout the movie, stuff that you just didn't notice before. And I think it does that pretty well. I compare it to Chinatown, that does kind of the same thing. It's the twist was always kind of there. It just wasn't very obvious. But if you watch it a second time, then it's pretty obvious. You see it. You're like, oh yeah, like, so that's why he was,
because you're walking
seeing
in his shoes.
Yeah, that's why you're seeing the lake and the we call it was like a swing or something, the swinging chair or whatever, when he sees his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
And I know that's a little confusing. Like I got the twist, but the actual twist isn't that special, or just the way it was done was very well done. But like the actual twist itself was kind of, I thought was a little cliche. Like, oh, I'm actually crazy, or
what would have ruined the twist is if they kind of just pulled like a, I don't know, he's just like, you're crazy, and he's just like, oh man, that sucks, and then like just like the end, like, or like he just kills the doctor or kills himself. Like, that'd be dumb.
Shit, I even like that. Like, I really liked at the end when they kind of showed the delusion from the reality, where he tries to shoot him and he thinks he shot him, but he didn't actually shoot him. Like, it didn't affect him at all. But it shows him
point of view.
Yeah, him getting shot, but he just doesn't react to it. And I thought that was really cool. And then that moment where he's on the cliff and fucking Mark Ruffalo just disappears, and he looks down and he like imagines them on on the cliff on the rocks, and he like panics, and then he gets down there, and it's just like fucking seaweed or whatever the fuck. And I thought that looked pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like if they had like acted along with it, he would still basically be seeing those things.
Yeah.
I like how that kind of like works out for how the movie's presented beforehand.
They're purposely doing stuff like that
Yeah.
to kind of get his not have him freak out, I guess, or trying to get him to this conclusive point where in the lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
So have him make him like double think what he's seeing and like hearing. And thinking.
Yeah.
But what I really liked about the ending is I feel like it's less about like, oh, we're gonna show him this big twist. I feel like it does a really good job at like transitioning to like, oh, this wasn't ever like, this still was an investigation, just not not investigating the thing I thought. Instead, we're going on like a moral and like psyche and spiritual investigation into me. Like it's all about me. And I like that he that he gets to have that conversation with Mark Ruffalo, and it's just because that's really more what the movie's about. Like, yeah, the investigation there is like the kind of like the noir mystery is like the backdrop, but like the central theme is, like, I want to be a good man, and for the most part he is, even if he's delusional. Like he tries to catch the bad guy, and he tries to do the right thing most of the movie, and it's just like, well, I don't want to be a bad person, so I'm gonna opt out of so I won't hurt anybody ever again. Because like he basically realizes that he's like a danger, and he's probably hurt other inmates. Like,
well, they say that to him. They say he's the most dangerous inmate they have, and he's hurt countless other inmates, and or I guess they say patients. They don't say inmate because it's supposed to be like a hospital, but
it'd be like
they've hurt other patients and doctors and stuff, and they say he's the most volatile, like violent one.
It'd be like your
the Ben Kingsley tells them that.
Like American Werewolf in London or something, like where it's like you're just a regular guy during the day, but like at night you have no recollection or control that you became a werewolf and killed a bunch of people. Like, yeah, I think you would like want someone to kill you, or like chain you up so you can't escape and hurt people. So he's just like, well, instead of like just killing myself, I'm just gonna
instead of killing yourself,
I'm just gonna I'm gonna take the lobotomy, and like honestly,
I'll take the L.
That's what that's meant.
The L.
What's cool is, and I feel like a lot of people forget about it.
Thank you, Mark Ruffalo. I love getting lobotomized.
Yeah, but no, I think what's so cool about it is that, like, I do believe like him being a veteran was real, like, and
Well, they mentioned that like, you are a state trooper or whatever, but you did this. And
like you served in the military, which is why we brought you here, like, but what I like is that so he's obviously like smart and like tactical and like could handle himself.
Yeah.
Like he could literally live on the island.
No, yeah, like, when he's sticking into the lighthouse, he literally like knocks that guy out. And then when he gets up to the top, Ben Kingsley's like, "Oh, you didn't hurt him that much, did you?"
Yeah,
he's concerned because he's dangerous.
Well, yeah, he knew he would.
Yeah,
and like so, what? He kind of loses control at the end because they like flip his reality on him, but he had like two choices basically, and it's what he says at the end, like. He, if anything, he's taking like the humble and heroic path by choosing the lobotomy because that's like selfless. Like, but he could have just been like, you guys are Nazis, man. Like he could have just like
trying to trick me, man.
Like, okay, the gun didn't work. They explain everything to him, and then he just loses his mind anyway and just tries to like escape the island or just like
I like that line at the end because he could. Mark Ruffalo comes up. Yeah. I just like that line at the end. Mark Ruffalo comes up to him. He's just like, "So how you doing, man?" He's like, "Gotta get off this rock, man." I just like that terminology. We gotta get off this rock.
No, but
I like that.
Or like when he sees like the woman he has the conversation in the cave with, like, that easily could have been him. Like he could have just survived on the island, hid, and like waited for his opportunity to escape, and.
And you notice that too. I just realized actually that anytime something like that happens, or the character or someone telling him, reinforcing his delusion, he's alone. He's not with anybody usually.
Yeah.
When he's talking like the guy in the cell, that girl in the caves, all that. Or that when he's like sneaking around and
in the rainstorm when they're in that like
which I thought was that looked really well done, and that actually goes into one of my problems with the movie. That's kind of one of the only shots and sequences I really remember, and it just feels like Scorsese's not on his best kind of directing in this movie. It's a little more flat, I feel like. I can't really think of too many shots or moments that I'm like, oh wow, that looked great. Wow, that was really well done. It was all kind of just, it was good, it was serviceable, and
it's very like straightforward.
No,
like very simplistic.
Not fancy.
There wasn't like Zero style. The dream sequences.
I thought those were definitely the best things.
Yeah,
you know what they should have had more of, like more of his delusion, like whenever he shoots that guy, like that was like visually crazy.
Yeah, that's how you like turn into Joker, and it's like, oh well, I mean, like I think the way they presented the delusions was clever because it was in a way you could buy, and it's not just like, oh well, this is obviously a delusion, and this is obviously not, unless it's like a dream sequence or he's remembering his wife.
Yeah, see,
and then whenever there's like a mistake with the movie, then people are like, oh well, it's supposed to be a dream sequence, so there's no. But I mean, I think there were some moments like the match lighting scene. While cool conceptually, it wasn't pulled off in the most satisfying way for me. I feel like it was he's like way too bright.
Yeah. I was,
and I'm sure like
thought that.
The way it's described in the book, it's like you could imagine that being like really intense. Like that exact same scene with like realistic lighting in a way where it's like this match is like all the light that's coming in through here, and like a little bit of sunlight, but like otherwise it's just this match.
Yeah.
And I know that like movies do this thing where it's like, oh, you turn on a flashlight and it's like pointed opposite direction, it's gonna fill up the room with light because you have to light a scene in a movie. I get that, but I think just like kind of like in between the lighting of the match and like him going through there, it's like you're not really selling to me that this is like something that
this is lighting up this whole fucking room. But also I guess you can explain it away as like that's definitely a part where he's like hallucinating, like that guy isn't actually in there. Like,
I think he does beat.
Cool?
I think he does beat up that guy.
You know
like,
who that is, right?
Rorschach.
The guy, it's Rorschach.
Really?
Yeah.
The guy in the prison that he's talking to.
I didn't realize that. Holy shit!
And remake Elm Street, Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
He did do that too. I forget about shit like that.
He's a freaky little guy. I love him.
He's a scraggly little fucking redhead guy. You think because he has like this really distinct like fucking face.
I guess I just
it's like this whole like skull is like really defined.
Like you get like the his cheekbones and like just the way his face look is just very distinct. And I'm kind of surprised I didn't recognize him, but I guess that's right. It was low lighting, and even though like it's supposed to be
Some people theorize that he's like trying to attract ladies, but like I don't know.
Yeah,
that seems like kind of sort of reaching.
That goes into my other problem.
It's more so how it looks, more so than like why he's lighting.
Why
the
he's
matches.
doing
it's
it.
like it just doesn't sell it very well for me.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into my other problems with the movie. There's just like some little things that I'm like, well, why did they do that then? If this was all not real, like why? I guess maybe to feed his delusion more. Why did Mark Ruffalo just like abandon him? Like the last like 40 minutes of the movie, and just like, oh, he's disappeared now, he's gone.
Yeah.
I guess to lure him to the lighthouse, I guess. But like, he already knew that something was going on in there, and I don't know.
No, that makes sense.
Like that kind of doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but at the end, Ben Kingsley basically is like we've been in this lighthouse like 4 times now. Like,
oh, does he say that?
Yeah, he's like we've already done this before, so like.
This is like
he's like he says we broke ground once. He's like, so they already kind of know where he's gonna go, and what he's gonna do. Like he knows they know that he thinks like the lighthouse, they're doing these experiments, and he's like one step ahead of him. He's like, oh, let me guess, you think like the medicine that we're giving you is like hallucinogens? Like it's not. Like
even though like this is also really well done, and I don't know if this was purposeful or if they just kind of did this and forgot about it. Because when he goes down to the cave and he meets the lady, he's like, she's like, they put all of this stuff, they put it in everything, the food, I bet you're not even smoking your own cigarettes, and they do that because earlier he gets in the storm, and then they were placed his shoes, and they're like, "Oh, your cigarettes are fucked. Here's some more." like was that purposeful? Like, or did he just make that up in his own mind? Like that they were
No, I think
because
it was
all that kind of
purposeful.
fell in the pieces where like he eventually gets all his stuff stripped away, and he's wearing their clothes, he's smoking their cigarettes, eating their food, and then but like his own mind tells him that that's what's happening, and again like it's cool in like the filmmaking aspect, but I feel like in the actual when because they're trying to like get him to the lighthouse and make him have this breakthrough like were they doing that just to build up his delusion, or was that just something
in a weird way? It seems like they were
purposefully
trying
to frame themselves as like they're trying to do something to him so they could get him into this position to be like, "Oh, you're fucking crazy, man."
Yeah, it's I'm still a little wobbly on like the actual like entirety of the plan, because I'm like, so you're gonna thoroughly convince him of his delusion so that you
and
can
that was the other
break
thing.
it?
So you're gonna trick him onto this boat somehow, and then sail away, and then turn around and come back. Like he didn't, like he'll just forget or something. Is it like he falls asleep and he forgets?
Surely.
Yeah, I feel like that also wasn't explained too well. Because it doesn't even show him waking up on the boat. It's just him like that's like the first scene is him in the sink throwing up, and just kind of looking at himself in the mirror on the boat. So it's just like, how did they do that? I guess they just forgot he got onto the boat when he was on the island. I guess.
I like.
It's like little stuff like that.
I have an idea of kind of what they did.
Me, it's not, and I mentioned it earlier. It's not as well written as like something like Chinatown. Like when you watch that a second time, you can like everything just makes sense. And everything just it was always there, and everything doesn't seem like it doesn't connect. Everything connects to each other. But opposed to this movie where I feel like some things don't really like. Why did they do that? If this is the whole like kind of you were saying, if this was the plan the whole time, then why did they do this?
I'm not really sure how they thought.
Yeah. There's a lot of contrivances, like a lot of just we're betting on him doing this specific thing.
Which I mean, that's excusable because they've done it so many times.
Yeah.
So see, that's what I was gonna say.
So.
Is like there's some stuff. It's just like kind of. It's just like I don't know. I can just put context clues. Like if like he's like waking up on the boat, they probably just tranquilized him. Like, and this whole time he thinks he's a detective. There's not ever a point where he like is like, oh, I'm not a detective.
Yeah.
And so instead of humoring him, it's like they switch it up. Like they start to humor him, and then they like take away the devices a normal detective would have. Like, oh, what just happened to my partner? What just happened to all the trust I had in Ben Kingsley? Now I don't know what to believe. And then like it's like him confronting them, like thinking he's gonna like get to the bottom of some mass conspiracy, like, but then just being presented with the truth is just like he can't like refute it. He can't be like, oh well, no, you're lying, you're trying to trick me. Like it's just like, no, like we haven't been drugging you at all. Like, and you've been a patient here. Like it was literally like the documents and proof that you've been here for years. And then like it's like you basically are forcing him to like kind of think about everything, and that's why they put that girl in. Like the girl's like, oh yeah, I killed my 3 kids. Like she's literally just there as like a refresher to be like to get him to remember.
Right. Oh yeah.
Like,
And that was actually one of my other questions I had, but you already answered it. Like, well, what was the kind of the point of her? But I guess that makes sense. It's basically like a avenue for him to kind of get the idea of what had happened to him in there without explicitly telling him, oh, your wife killed your fucking kids.
It's like you can't just convince him he's crazy. You also have to convince him of what actually happened, because he says in the beginning, like, and that's what's like one thing they don't do very well is they show a lot of the real, like, oh, this is what he really is, but they don't do a good job of showing too much of his like of his delusion. Like he just says one time throughout the whole movie, like, oh yeah, my wife died in a fire, like, but
and then he has like the one dream about it,
and it's like that didn't happen at all.
Yeah, I mean, he made it up.
Yeah, and she's the missing girl they're looking for. They give her that story.
But I didn't
to,
like
get him to
that. Like
remember.
I did like at the end, all your name, or the name of the page. It's all an anagram for like your life and your children, your wife, and you. Like you're just like kind of making all this up in your head, but like it's still related to like what actually happened to you. I actually thought that was pretty clever.
And it's like you kind of had to like psych him out to make him realize he was crazy.
Yeah.
And like I do think that the plan does feel kind of weird because you're just like hoping
I just
that
really,
he does.
the more you
everything
think about it, the more kind of flawed it is a little. I feel like, but I guess.
But
They
Ben
just
Kingsley does seem
and I
kind
know
of,
they did it like 2 or 3 times, but they do put a lot of stock of him just doing this specific thing every time, and I'm like, I guess he just repeated the same thing every time, or just did the exact same steps every time, and
I mean,
they just
probably.
banked on him doing that every
I guess
time.
like lore wise.
Yeah.
It'd be like if you played like a Fallout, and then you erased it from your brain, so you don't remember anything. You're not gonna do the quest any differently, probably.
Well, I don't know, but that's the thing. I feel like I would, at least slightly differently. I wouldn't do the exact same thing every time.
Not if it's like your first playthrough, over and over again.
Yeah, I guess.
And so it's like him. He's not like learning from the mistakes, and he's like, oh, I did this last time, and like I got locked up or something. Like he doesn't. For him, every day, like when he says he's been here for 5 years. Like he thinks he's only been there for like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And it's just
right.
like it's kind of hard to measure his delusion, but like honestly, it really just seems like Ben Kingsley is just desperate to fix him. So he just totally just gambles on like, you know what? I'm just gonna literally simulate.
Well, I guess they do say that at the end, like the whole thing was like the last ditch effort. Like,
this is like the last time we can do this,
Yeah.
and then if it fails, like we're lobotomizing it.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
So like they kind of did just gamble on like that hoping that would fix him, and it's just like it worked, didn't it? Yeah, for more or less.
Yeah.
But like it was like a definite like risk for him to do.
Yeah.
Like just let him have a free run of the island and kind of do whatever.
Yeah.
They're like it was like by giving him. I think that's what I like about it too. Instead of locking him up in an asylum thinking that he's gonna change with like therapy and pills, it's like no, like you have to introduce him to new experiences.
And that's what you gotta think. And I like that they said that because it's like what the 60s.
Yeah.
Like mid to late 60s. That's when like a lot of big medical and mental evolutions and breakthroughs kind of went on, because like you mentioned in the movie before that, it was just lobotomizing and punishing, because we didn't really have like a whole great understanding of how this kind of all this mental illness stuff works.
Yeah.
How to kind of treat it, and so it was just kind of like, well, we'll just beat it out of you, or we'll just fucking lobotomize you. So like, and that's what he was kind of trying to prevent. And I like that historical context of it as a history major. I can appreciate the context of it and kind of why they're doing that.
Yeah, like I like that they.
And I do like the setting, and I think that's one of the things I enjoy about the movie, or at least the filmmaking, is just all the sets and how the island looks. I really liked all the shots where they're on like the edge of like cliffs, or they're near the lighthouse, and it's all this like roaring water and like harsh cliffs, and all the way all that looks, and this kind of gloomy, rainy, like stormy island. I like the aesthetic. It's nice.
What I was
and I always just like that. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. I also just like because they do that in a lot of noir films. It's like it's either like a stormy or there's a blizzard, some like kind of intense like weather. Whether it's like what do you call it? I'm being real fucking stupid right now. A heat stroke or a heat wave.
Yeah, they do kind of
like a heat wave, or a big like a group of storms and it's just storming, or it's like a blizzard or some kind of intense weather. I like that kind of cliche, and they do that obviously in this movie of like just this intense weather surrounded by like an intense mystery. I think that helps with the mood and the setting of the movie.
The only thing I was gonna say more about it was.
You couldn't see it, but I like.
No, I saw.
He just grabbed his balls.
Yeah,
none of that.
His balls.
But anyways, I like that. Yeah, their plan doesn't totally make sense, but neither does his case. Like I feel like it's like a really like out there mental case. Like, and yeah, they just give him like free roam to experience things, but like they add little hints to kind of make him think and reflect on it. Like I don't know if you remember, but like they also give him that note. Like that note was definitely planned. Like they find a note in the missing girl's room. And he proves to him at the end, he's like this note's your handwriting. You wrote it. Like, and so basically, in him trying to prove that he's not crazy and that he's drugged and all of this, he accidentally disproves that he's not Teddy Daniels. And they're like, here's all the proof. Here's it on a chalkboard. Here's all the letters. Here's all the information, all the paperwork. Like, you're crazy. And then and it's just like, at that point you can't refute it. It's just like, oh, okay, there's just like very clear evidence against me here. And then it kind of just forces him to like kind of recollect. And it's just like, you can't force him by beating him or drugging him, so they just give him a new experience other than being locked up and being put in therapy. And like through the experience and like the storm and like the adventure and like the detective noir-ish, it's like he ends up kind of like literally like unlocking it. Like just unlocks the memory from his brain by having similar things kind of put in front of him.
And
it's like forced to remember it.
And talking about the weather, it's like I love how it's like the sunniest it's ever been at the end, even though it's a sad ending, because it's such a good way of painting his like state of mind. How it's like he's been like fogged this entire time. It's like all this like intense stuff on his mind, and he's like it shrouds your like vision from like seeing what's actually there, and like finally when everything's like made clear to him and he's like at peace and he's just kind of like accepted his fate and he's like ready to let go. That's mirrored very well in the weather.
Some people argue that the storm isn't even real, but I don't know.
No, they were because they had that one meeting and they were all planning like, oh, what do we do?
It kind of affects too much stuff.
I feel like that's definitely real,
especially because like a specific person.
Nah, some people. Because I got like really into this movie, and like after I looked on Reddit, and man,
which means
there is some people who just still believe that he is Teddy Daniels and that they were just lying.
And I mean, no, I like the actual twist is a bit cliche, but like the way they set it up is pretty good. Again, it had me questioning it even at the end, you know, like, oh shit, like, I am Teddy Daniels. What are you talking? They're just trying to trick you, man. Like, because I really thought they were gonna like trick him, and then when she turned around, and be like, yes, we finally got him. He'll never leave.
Especially with that one patient that like tells him like to run.
Yeah. No, that's the other thing. Another kind of inconsistency I see. Why? I guess she was just crazy and she just told him to do that for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many of these
I think she
patients he's met.
Yeah, I talked about him, and I guess this is more of just funny. Like, do you think they like got that one inmate just to be racist? They like, okay, you got to be racist. Like, you got to be racist until that's the only way we can get him to realize his past. You got to be racist.
No,
or was he just like crazy?
Especially because like,
I know
the
that's
60s.
stupid. Like, obviously probably in the context of the movie, they just had him talk to him. But like, it's just certain things like that. Like, did they plan everything out? Why did she write on that thing to run? Did Mark Ruffalo just abandon him to, I guess, feed his delusion? Just little stuff like that, I think, kind of bothers me. Even after watching it a second time.
That's what I like.
It's kind of like, okay, so that kind of doesn't make... Yeah.
Because, like, the storm happened, it's like they're trying to juggle, like, 50 different things. And the patient's, like, telling him to run.
Like, I don't think all those patients escaped on purpose.
No,
like, I don't think that was part of his, like, treatment.
Her telling him to run was probably just, like, because like you're gonna get lobotomized.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
like because I'm sure all the patients probably know like, oh, like this is a scary patient.
And that's something I'll point out in that scene early on when he interviews all the other patients and they all kind of just don't take him seriously because they I would assume they all kind of know that they're all just it's just like a role he's playing. I know they're supposed to be helping him or playing into his delusion, but some of them just can't. A lot of them just scoff at him, like, whatever, and kind of just aren't treating it very seriously. And I think that's why I say this movie kind of does benefit from a second watch. Like you kind of see stuff like that, but it also kind of
it gives and takes.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Kind of works out.
I was about to say like some of it works. You're like, oh yeah, and then some of it's like, okay, yeah. And in retrospect, with the twist at the end, that kind of doesn't make any sense. Like, but I like that scene when he was interviewing everyone. They kind of just don't. They hint at like they kind of know they're not really taking him seriously. He's not a real fucking cop. He's not actually investigating anything.
And I think
if you look really closely, he's actually during the interview, he's not writing anything down. He's just like scribbling in that one spot.
Oh yeah, really?
Oh yeah, he just scribbles like that, like big like splotch, and I was like wondering what he was doing that for, and like he just did it for no reason.
That was like half a joke. I wasn't sure how seriously it was going to take me, or if that was like if I just touched upon something that might have been the point of that scene. I don't know. But I think it was some weird intimidation tactic for that one guy in particular.
Yeah, okay.
But like the reason I can kind of let go of some of the stuff that's like kind of not realistic, or like, you know, like a hospital wouldn't do that, is this isn't like a realistic hospital at all. Like they take like people that he even said, like Ben Kingsley says like pretty much at the beginning, like we take like people who are deemed like just unfixable and still try to fix them anyways.
Yeah.
So like they probably had to do some pretty desperate things to kind of make progress with some people, and it's just, you know, you got a huge budget and a big island, and you can kind of do what you want with your patients. Like, so yeah, it's maybe like unorthodox, or like it doesn't have to all make sense really.
Yeah, it's not that it's not real. Like I couldn't see this happening in real life. Like it works. The setup works for the movie. It's just more so how it plays out in certain areas.
Yeah.
It's not like the premise itself I have a problem with.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and especially, and so I keep comparing it to this movie, but like Chinatown is just not as tightly written, I feel like. Like again, Chinatown, everything, even if you go back after the twist in the end of that movie, you can see it very clearly. Everything still makes sense. Everything's still like, okay, yeah, that makes sense why that happened because of this and that. But it's just some parts, I think, in Shutter Island kind of, it's like, oh, why did they do that? Or they kind of just bet on that happening, and that was just kind of convenient for them. And it's just little stuff like that that's just not as tightly written, I feel like.
I do
especially
feel like,
on a second watch through.
I do feel like he does too conveniently like fall into like their trap.
Or what they want him to think. You
like
know?
There's never a point where he goes haywire and they're like, oh, we didn't know he was gonna do that. Like that would have been cool to see. Like,
yeah, like everything's kind of meticulously planned. We knew you'd be here.
No,
Leonardo. Sorry.
No, I remember his plan. I remember thinking his plan was kind of stupid. Like that one weird, like big soldier guy picks him up and he's like, "I know you would cave my head in if you got the chance."
That I wasn't really sure how well that.
Yeah.
What part of that played into him? Like, was he just thinking of that conversation?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I do.
That
That
guy
when
wasn't
I'm on the
real.
bus. Like, if no one's like talking like for like upwards of 20 minutes for like a ride, I'm just kind of like.
Or even at the,
getting a read of certain people.
Near the end when he leaves his room and he's trying to sneak over to the lighthouse and he runs into that doctor guy and he like fucking like puts him against the wall, and the doctor guy's kind of not scared. He's like, "What are you gonna do? Like, kill me?" Even though he's supposed to be like the most dangerous like patient, and I'm assuming the doctor knows he's just like a delusional guy, and they're But like, was that part of? And then he like blew up his car, but he knew he'd blow up because he says that. Ben Kingsley says at the end, he's like, "You blew up my favorite car."
Well,
like,
no,
I guess he just knew he was gonna blow up the car.
Well,
and
no,
not
I don't think he knew that. He just noticed that, and he was like, "Oh, that's
okay.
frustrating."
He had like a ham radio, so he probably like told him like, "Hey, they blew up your car."
Oh, fuck!
Damn! Fuck this guy.
Okay.
I was just gonna say,
just
I feel like
At this point, I just want to lobotomize. I don't even want to do this anymore. You know, fuck it.
I was gonna do this like a couple more times, but that was like the last straw.
I love that car.
No, but I thought like if you're supposed to be like a detective and he's ex-military, his plan seemed kind of like balls to the wall.
A little bit. Yeah, especially near the end where he's just like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna grab a gun and go in there and free Mark Ruffalo."
It'd be different like
go all commando like Rambo
kind
of at the end.
Like his like wife was in there, like, you know. Then he's just running in like with blind rage, but it's like he just blows up a car, but like he gets dropped off and he's like in the middle of a field. Like that's the perfect time to like, I'm gonna sneak away. Like I'm gonna sneak. I'm gonna get like equipped and I'm gonna like sneak into the lighthouse. But no, he just like barges in, and then like it seemed like he would do something more tactical to hide from them. like if he's outnumbered and he's trapped on an island and he doesn't know where his partner is.
I don't know. Maybe that's what they were trying
blazing.
to. That was kind of the whole point of maybe, and maybe this answers my question from earlier, of having Mark Ruffalo kind of disappear the last 40 minutes. Maybe kind of trying to put him in that position where he has to kind of just go commando and like.
No, yeah, it was totally to
there.
provoke him.
Like, yeah,
like, so to make him do something about it.
Yeah,
like because if they fake killed Mark Ruffalo or something, then he'd have no stakes. He would just try to escape.
Yeah.
But like, because his wife is even like, oh, like, come on, escape. He's like, no, I can't leave my partner. And he goes back for Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah.
And again, like, I like how I guess they kind of bet on that too, that he wouldn't just be like, oh, fuck Mark Ruffalo, I gotta go, I gotta get out of here. But I guess they knew he's like a kind of like a nicer guy, and he wouldn't do that.
But didn't he say he was his personal therapist or psychiatrist? Or...
Yeah,
but
like he didn't know that he
he didn't know that, but like he would have this like deep rooted like subconscious.
Well, also
I guess
like
so,
I know I have a deep connection with this guy, even though like I just met him.
I just technically met him, and he's my new partner.
Well, the character
my new partner.
I think the reason they're not afraid of him is because Teddy Daniels is dangerous because of like his potential danger, but I don't think he really hurts people that often. Like, because he's trying to be like a good person. Like he's like a cop. He thinks he's a cop detective.
He stabs that fucking doctor in like the neck.
Maybe he just syringed him. He's fine.
In the neck.
Like he could have just like, I don't know, like brutally beat him like, like an ape or something.
But yeah, no, that doctor was very calm, even though he's like a very well known dangerous.
He did not have the he had the syringe in his pocket, but like he did not he could not physically take Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
like,
you did not have.
What are you gonna do? Kill me?
You didn't have the situation under control.
Yeah, he acted pretty calm for a situation that he definitely could have died in.
Yeah,
I can agree with that. Just maybe he had enough experience with him to know that
he didn't.
That it's not.
You definitely won't kill me. Dangerous mental.
It's like he got the syringe this time.
Oh shit!
It's not in Teddy Daniels.
Oh man, I gotta get fucking stabbed in the neck for the 4th time.
No, I was just gonna say I don't think it's in
I think I'm kind of over exaggerating with the planning of the whole plan, but like I do kind of think like. They just made it, to me, they made it seem like, we planned everything out. This is all according to plan. There's nothing, you did everything we wanted you to. Like, I don't know, there's kind of like loose logic there, I always feel like.
Yeah, I feel like the whole, like, the only thing with that is like, damn, I just voice cracked. The only thing with that is like, I think that maybe they knew kind of, after having experienced Teddy Daniels a lot, they knew kind of his moral structure. Like, he wouldn't just kill randomly. Like, I mean, he'd kill if you got in his way, but like, I mean, I just didn't think he'd kill the doctor. Even like right then, like I didn't think he was gonna kill the doctor.
Yeah, I never thought that. It was more so just like how
it's more like in the
putting
context,
themselves in that situation where it's like they.
Like, I don't know if they have all the confidence in the world that he wouldn't do anything. I don't know.
That they would put this frail old man up to getting beat up like that.
Yeah.
Like, well, that guy kind of had an attitude, like, even when they had that conversation. He was just
probably.
Like, he was just like, oh, not all Germans are Nazis.
Yeah, I forgot that they do that.
Yeah.
Because he's like a German, and he was in World War II or whatever.
Yeah.
So did that actually happen? Like him going to the war and seeing all those things? That actually happened, or was that another like delusion?
No, they say he was a war vet. So I definitely think that's real.
Yeah, and then he was projecting his own kids onto that.
Yeah. It's like
kind of
a combination of the two things. Like it's like war definitely did a number on him,
because that's also something
his wife just did the final.
Because I mean that's what a lot of people forget. You know, Holocaust is well known now, but at the time, especially during the war, fucking nobody knew that was going on. Like, nobody was aware that literally the Germans were killing thousands of people, like, in hordes and masses. And they only discovered it when they beat them and they liberated the camps. It's like when they discovered that shit was happening. Like, so, again, good history accuracy on that. And I like that, and kind of had that played into his delusion of feeling like he failed his kids. And man, the scene where they show what happened, and Leonardo DiCaprio's acting in that was like phenomenal. Wow, it really got me. Like, made me feel like I watched a guy who just lost his kids.
It was pretty gut wrenching. I didn't like it.
That's another like indication of like reality. How it's like, again, just like the sunniest one of the sunniest scenes in the movie. How it's
Yeah.
like this is like clear
Very
as day. This
clear
is
and
what's
not-
happened.
Not dark or in a cave or
Yeah.
like poorly lit with like one match somehow. That was at least a really good filmed and acted scene, and he really got me in my heart with that one. Wow.
I definitely do think he went to war though. Like that was not fake.
I think that's how like they say like that's why you're so dangerous, because you have all this like military training.
Yeah.
I would say for me this it's unfortunate that it's in this position where it's like one of those movies with a reputation of like, oh yeah, one of the biggest twists in movies ever, and you go in knowing that it has like a massive twist. It definitely
Well, I guess
lessens.
this is what helped me. I had no idea about it.
Yeah,
I had no idea like the.
I'm not blaming the movie for this at all, but
Yeah.
it's unfortunate that that's kind of the state of like discovering certain movies is like for this one specific thing, and like.
And that's what I said at the beginning, and that's why I say like the whole movie kind of does hinge on the twist at the end, and I feel like your response or the way you see it, the way you like it, is kind of going to depend on you. And I mean, I think that's just indicative of this conversation. I mean, for the most part, that's mostly what we talked about, because that's kind of what the whole movie hinges on. And
yeah, it's not like it has nothing to back it up, but
yeah,
it's mainly like, okay, this has a twist in it. He's going to an insane asylum, and he's even having visions even when he's like not dreaming. It's like I saw it coming, and I'm wondering if it's really like because it was telegraphed just like that much too hard. Like if I would have gotten that without like, if I just went into this blind and like thought of it as a just just like I didn't have any idea that there was supposed to be like a massive twist, and just kind of went along for the ride regardless. And I didn't like not care about what was happening throughout, but I was pretty much like, okay, well, what else could it be? Like obviously he's crazy.
Yeah. Again, and I even guessed it because he says that when they're having that meeting about what to do about the rain and how to restrain like the other inmates because they didn't want him to drown, and it was something like that. And he comes in, he's like, I have proof that you said there was 25 patients here, but there's 26. I immediately thought, oh, what is it? He's the 26th patient. Woo! And I thought about and then that happens at the end of the movie. I was like, oh shit! But again, that's why I say the twist isn't super original, but the way they set it up is still pretty well done. It had me questioning it. Like I guessed it before the movie, but it still had me questioning it at the end. At least until like the ending scene with him and Mark Ruffalo. And I definitely think he broke through, and it just chose to get lobotomized. Honestly,
I do wish that
I don't think he was delusional anymore at the end.
I can agree with you that I do kind of wish that they maybe didn't show that he was like abnormal at first. Like how many people are having like visions? Like I get like maybe a war flashback. Like
and the dream sequences,
memory.
those are like perfectly fine, but like
it's just there's a little too much.
Seeing his wife like in the actual scenes that he's in like reality, it's like that's
like maybe the war flashes like tying with his situation could have happened like maybe later in the story. So it's just like, okay, is this hospital actually like bad and like finally like making him see stuff that he shouldn't be seeing, or like is he crazy? And they definitely lean more into like he's losing his mind kind of too quickly, I think. There should have been more resistance, I guess, especially with that final scene like where he just kind of goes commando. Like they should have there should have been a point where like the hospital like panics and they're like, oh, he's going against what he normally does, like he's gonna try to escape or something. Or like something different than what he said. Just like, oh, their plan was like a little too perfect and it worked out, just happened to work out perfectly. Like I would have liked to see a little bit more resistance. I'll be honest, like I knew there was gonna be a twist, and I knew like his life wasn't gonna be what I thought it was gonna be, but I didn't know that his wife killed his kids at all, like at all. Like, I knew that he was probably crazy, but I didn't know that until it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
It still, like, functions well emotionally. And that, I think him as a central character works really well. And he's definitely fascinating to watch throughout the movie. But, like, I just kind of wish that they had done, like, a couple things beforehand that wasn't so, like, oh, well, I mean, he is going to be crazy by the end of this. Like, you know, I feel like if they just taken out, like, some...
add more, like, layer of uncertainty.
Yeah, and like less like, oh well, obviously the wife isn't there, so therefore he must be crazy. If he was just having dreams, that would be like fine. I guess they thought they were safe with like the pills, but like, you know,
and kind of that explanation of is like, oh, I'm not crazy, they're making me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, I definitely think I can agree. Like, just more mystery up. If you're gonna have a twist and it's a mystery, it should maybe be a little bit less predictable with like the trajectory of the movie. Like, it's like it's like the two-thirds of it should have been more like uncertain and like layered, kind of differently than just like watching him slowly go crazy. Like, it would have been cool to see like something kind of crazy happen, but then they justify it, or like, you know, then nothing crazy happens for a while, and like, oh, see, it is the pills or something.
I like the like overlap of memories with his kids and his experience during World War II, and how like, yeah, what actually happened with his wife was like again projected onto another lady, and like him like killing his wife is projected onto another person. That stuff is like, that feeds into the twist in a way where it's like, okay, like, this isn't signaling him being crazy, but it works when you watch it back. It's more so just like, yeah, like one too many visions, and like, yeah, it's
it is really like the daytime vision
on top of the
like
setup,
where he's awake and this like shit
Yeah.
happens. Like, that's like, oh, okay, like
Mm-hmm.
now he might just be fucking nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys want to give a rating? We've been talking a long time.
I think that's kind of all I have to say about it. Some solid things. I don't think, like I said, I don't think Scorsese. I don't know. I just don't like, if I showed it to one person, I don't think they could guess like Scorsese directed this movie, and just like I was saying, the little bits here and there that kind of don't make sense with the twist in mind. But still, some good shit, good acting, some good setting. I think overall, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
That's about how I feel about it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's it was, even for its faults, I'm glad that it was able to keep my interest in like in a way where it's like this, he is interesting to watch, and
Even though it was like a bit predictable.
yeah, it's the same thing with like, you know, like earlier we were talking about the apes. So those are like the most predictable like blockbusters I've seen, but it's more so like the setup and like seeing how like how certain things like kind of play out, not in like a story way, but more so in like a practical, like, okay, so how does this character get from this point to this point, kind of thing. Sometimes that can save like a really conventional, like, I can tell where this is going.
Yeah.
It's more so like seeing how some people are affected by things that can still be pretty impactful. So I would agree with the 7. That sounds solid.
I'm like torn between a 7 and an 8, only because I do feel like this movie is a lot less predictable if you're not like people like us who've watched a lot of movies. Like, if you never like this would be a perfect like first like thriller mystery to like show like a teenager. They'd probably never see that coming.
Because I feel like that's definitely a cliche in thrillers or horror, where it's like, oh, you're actually the crazy person, or everything you were seeing wasn't real. It's like a very cliche like horror like thriller kind of trope.
Right,
but like I could feel, like you said, I could feel like if someone hadn't seen as much,
the first experience,
as much as I
really
seen,
impactful.
Yeah,
and just there's not much I can critique other than like there is some like kind of flaws to their plan, and like I do think that they kind of reveal too quickly that he's probably not normal in some kind of way. Like, even if he wasn't crazy, like he definitely is. He definitely is not normal, like as a character, whether he's Teddy or Andrew. And like the acting's really good. But I can't agree that the shot composition is really boring. And I just argue. I'm not gonna get into a whole thing about it, but who I'd rather have made this movie is Frank Darabont, because he's just a really good. He's really good at adapting novels to the screen.
Yeah.
He did Green Mile, Shawshank Redemption, which is
this is right up his alley for that.
Like top 3
for that setting, and
And there's just like I think if it was him, like there would be definitely more cinematography. Like he's got some really really cool like shots and compositions and stuff in Shawshank Redemption, and like Scorsese did. He still did a hell of a job, but just maybe could have been handed to a different director. But I'm like torn between a 7 and an 8, but it's just a strong movie and I like it a lot, and I'll probably watch it again.
Yeah,
I would just go with what your instinct, your gut feeling. What'd you give it?
Like an 8.
I completely
like
understand.
It a little bit.
I get the appeal totally.
Yeah.
And honestly, I just also really like Leonardo DiCaprio, which sucks.
Oh yeah.
Won't get into that too much, but I think he might be a little bit of a weirdo in real life. Likes to date really young women.
Yeah. That's like the whole joke.
And,
I know.
Yeah, I don't know what he's up to in his free time, but he's a good actor, and I've seen a lot of his movies, and he's pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
okay, all right.
Recommendation?
Yeah, it's recommendations time. It's finally my turn again, and I think we need a break from all the race talk, the morality of mental illness. I think I'm just gonna go with like a fun one this time. I don't know how much we'll be able to talk about it, so maybe we should watch some more stuff besides this. But I'm going with 2012's Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Oh shit!
I watched this movie a lot when I was like 10 for some fucking reason. I literally have seen this movie like 5 times. I watched it a lot when I was younger for whatever reason. But yeah, I'm interested to watch it with fresh eyes because I do remember like a decent amount of it. I remember it being real goofy and kind of. I mean, just, Abraham Lincoln, the Vampire Hunter is kind of just an out there idea. But, I'm interested to see how this movie holds up. It probably won't. Just from what I remember. It was also, and I just saw this when I was looking it up just now, it was actually a book beforehand.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And they had adapted it to a movie. And,
I've heard people say that it's like... It, and I'm glad that you're the historian here, but like that they take like real Abraham Lincoln history and everything that's unexplainable about his life, they just put in vampires.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, vampires. Yeah, not that he was probably gay, but vampires. Yeah, definitely vampires.
I mean, it sounds fun, even though like the movie doesn't have a good reputation. Like, maybe I'll check out the book eventually.
Yeah, no. And there's some people I see in the cast that I'm sure you'll be like, oh shit, they're in this movie. I'll be excited to talk about that. So definitely watch that before the next episode comes out. And I think that's gonna be it from us. See ya.